get emotional, it's just for him.
Thank you. You've always been there for me.
There are a lot of ways and a number of memories I'll always remember my grandfather. First, and obvious to anyone who visually inspected him, he was a physically imposing man. He was very strong and he liked to work with his hands that Amy beautifully described. I'll always remember his hands. I don't ever recall a time throughout my life when I traveled to visit my grandparents, whether in Indiana, Florida, Georgia, or Glasgow, and he wasn't working in a project using his hands. I also remember my granddaddy once telling me that he liked to plow or till up the ground in his bare feet. He said he liked the way the earth felt, and that's something I'll always remember. It makes me laugh to think about some unsuspecting person or a child walking up on loosely tilled soil with those enormous footprints, 5-6 feet span across, what they might think. Granddaddy was a very smart and articulate man. While he had a college degree in engineering, he never stopped his self-education. Granddaddy was always reading and prepared to discuss modern topics such as global warming, hybrid cars, alternative energy, or computer technology. He was continuously sharing recent articles from Popular Mechanics, Popular Science, or Consumer Reports. I often sought Granddaddy's wisdom and input on many topics ranging from church issues to growing grapes to tough life decisions. We exchanged emails over the past several years and he always offered the best advice. Granddaddy was always smiling, except for one time when we brought him Grader's ice cream for Lexington and someone else ate it. I think I truly saw him angry that day. There are many memories like this that will always be with me, but what I'll cherish and admire the most was Granddaddy's commitment to fulfilling God's purpose for his life. Isaiah 43:7 tells us that we were created for God's glory. And throughout the Bible, it is made clear that God's vision for our lives is for us to love him, and then for us to love our neighbor as ourselves. Granddaddy's love for God was evident in the way he lived. He began and ended each day in devotion and consistently studied the Word for hours a day. But he also listened. Earlier in Isaiah 30:21, it says, "Whether you turn to the right or turn to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.'" And Granddaddy followed God's calling. Despite his great humility, we've had the pleasure of hearing from many others about the times in which Granddaddy allowed God to guide his life and lead his family, such as the mission trip to Brazil over 40 years ago. The courage it took to uproot his family, leaving his job, his home, his furnishings, to follow God's calling was a demonstration of great faith and commitment, putting God first. From that trip, my mother had the opportunity to attend Asbury College, where she met my father. Granddaddy's decision in that one moment of time has generationally blessed my family. And I'm reminded of the following promise from God. John 15:4-5. "Remain in me and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine and you are the branches. If a man remains in me and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing." Granddaddy had the talent, the mind, and the strength to accomplish anything the world had to offer. But rather than chase fame or fortune, Granddaddy used his abilities for the glory of God. His ability to relate to others turned his giant stature into an approachable, loving, and respectable mentor by so many. He made everyone feel special, despite where they were in their own life's journey. He did so without judgment and with the goal of loving others so as to demonstrate God's own love for us. John 3:16 says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son. Whosoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life." In a conversation shortly before his passing, Granddaddy reminded us that God has already chosen all of us. However, it's now up to us to choose him.